Hello everyone, this is AEgis, and I have for you here the Collegiate Star League Season 4 Round 8 map pool. The Round 8 map pool does consist of 5 maps. There are 4 1v1 maps and 1 2v2 map. One of the 1v1 maps is the map Fighting Spirit, which we will see first. Fighting Spirit is not a Blizzard map, so I'll talk about that map quite a bit. But before we do begin, we do have the Collegiate Star League. You can check them out at cstarleague.com. The Collegiate Star League is a organization of 144 universities and colleges across the United States. So you can check out the Collegiate Star League at their website and see if your school has a team. And so we'll start with Fighting Spirit. Fighting Spirit is the non-Blizzard map. It's been ported in from Brood War. This map does have 4 expansions, or 4 main bases, or 4 possible main bases. But it is a 1v1 map. As you can see on this map, we do have these narrow choke points that you can use on Fighting Spirit to easily defend your natural and main base. On Fighting Spirit, we also do have this area here in red that you can easily defend to be able to secure your third base quite easily. So on this map, it does favor you to get a third base quite quickly, as the third base also does have another exit ramp, but this ramp is narrow as well, so it's easy to bounce back and forth between your natural and your third base. This map also has this center gold expansion. The center gold expansion has gold minerals. It has a lot of minerals for any expansion, for any regular map at least. This map also has these center ledges next to the gold minerals. These ledges do allow for drops to occur on this expansion, or you can use these ledges to your advantage, dropping units up there to help defend your gold expansion. However, taking this gold expansion is quite rare because of the center rocks that do block you from building a command center or base there. And this map also does feature these wide open spaces. These wide open spaces have a little bit of vision blocking with the bushes. These bushes do constrict these spaces a little bit, but the majority of battles do happen out here in these wide open spaces. There are also, to note, no Xel'Naga watchtowers on this map. It is more of an old school map ported in from Brood War. I also do have to note that you can see at the natural expansion these cliffs. I don't have them highlighted, but if you look carefully at the natural expansions, there are these cliffs, but you cannot drop on those cliffs. Those cliffs actually have quite a strange terrain and are not actually wide enough to fit many units. So those cliffs are purely for you to abuse by air units, banshees, void rays, mutalisks flying back and forth over the cliffs, and using the cliffs to prevent your opponent from seeing your air units as they attack the natural expansion. So the second map is Lost Temple. Lost Temple is a more standard map, so we'll go a little bit quicker. It does have these narrow choke points to defend your natural expansion. It does have these cliffs, as usually noted by many commentators, as being great places to drop units and deny the natural expansion, especially well known for Thor drops against Zerg players. This map also has 2 Xel'Naga watchtowers that watch over all of the attack paths in the center of the map. We also do have gold expansions that are blocked by rocks. These rocks are destructible, so you do have to take these out in order to take these gold expansions. We also do have these side, in the corners, these island expansions, which could be a little slightly imbalanced for Terran, as some people might note. But these expansions are relatively easier to secure as a Terran player. But Protoss and Zerg can easily secure these expansions by getting drops of their own. This map also does have these areas I have highlighted in red, where you should watch out for staging armies. Your opponent might stage their army here because of the bushes that do block this area from your vision. And it is close to your base, so they can easily elevator up into your base if you're a Terran player, or do a Doom drop from this area if you're a Zerg player. Protoss might actually use a observer to spot in this area, put a proxy pylon, and just warp units straight into your base. So it is something to watch out for by having good spotting. Our third map is Scorched Haven. Scorched Haven is our 2v2 map. It is also a standard Blizzard map, and on these 2v2 maps we do note that you do share a choke to your natural expansion, so if both of you are playing Terran or Protoss or some mix of those two, you can easily wall this off, and both of you can easily secure your natural expansion, which is in purple. We also do have these really strange cliff areas, which I have highlighted here in blue. These cliff areas do allow for Reapers or things to hop up into your base. Also do allow for proxies. These wide areas are favorite places for Protoss players to put a proxy pylon and again warp units straight into your base as long as they do have vision. We also do see sometimes cannon rushes on these maps due to these areas. On this map we do have the center gold expansions, which are basically impossible to take in from most players' points of views. All the battles usually happen around in this area, and armies do pass through these areas in order to attack your opponent. So these two gold expansions are basically impossible to hold unless you are very far ahead of your opponents anyways. So on this map, these are the most favored locations to take a third base. However, these locations are almost just as awkward because of their a long distance away from your natural. So it's quite difficult to defend these locations as well. But the center two bases do have these Xel'Naga watchtowers, which help you watch over these bases slightly more than the gold expansions. Also, because they're a little bit farther to the sides, they're less vulnerable to full-on attacks from your opponents. However, drops are quite a problem in these areas, so you do have to watch out for those if you do decide to take these expansions. Our next map is Metalopolis. This is the fourth map that will be played this week. Metalopolis does feature some interesting dynamics with spawn locations. Even though it is a favorite map for many races, it's quite balanced. Many people do like this map. So one example of these spawn dynamics is if you were to spawn here in the green as a Terran or Protoss player, and your Zerg opponent spawns up here in blue, then every single expansion that your Zerg player can take does expand away from you, as indicated in red. So Zerg can easily take many expansions and go right into macro mode and be able to take you out in the long run, so you do want to watch out for that when playing against a Zerg in these positions. But you do have one way to counter it, aside from going out for a full out attack or some all-in tactic. You do have this air unit space. This space between your two bases does basically allow your air units to fly straight into his base without much trouble. So Banshees are popular if you spawn in these positions. Void Rays are a great unit, and so are Mutalisks to use in these positions as well. Another example of this interesting spawn dynamic is if you were to spawn in these two positions. Zerg players don't much like this type of spawn position, as they are close to their opponent and can be harassed quite easily with the short rush distance as indicated by the arrow, as well as the wide open spaces, great for Hellions, great for speedy units like Zerglings to utilize to harass your opponent. So it is slightly more difficult to secure your natural expansion on this map against such a play. So on this map we also do have 2 center gold expansions. Players do like to spend a lot of time denying each other these expansions, as securing a gold expansion does give you a very healthy boost in your income. These gold expansions are easily scoutable by touching on either of these Xel'Naga watchtowers, and you can also place units with very long range such as Colossus or siege tanks at these Xel'Naga watchtowers, and you can easily range the units mining at the 2 gold expansions. So gold expansions are relatively difficult to hold on this map as well. So a common place to put a 3rd base is at these 2 locations I've indicated just now in red. Terran players sometimes will go ahead and take this expansion rather than the gold expansion if they are feeling a little bit constricted. Many players will go for this ahead before the gold expansion. So this is the map Metalopolis, and we will go and take a look at our last map, which is Xel'Naga Caverns. Xel'Naga Caverns is also a favorite map for many players. Xel'Naga Caverns features a natural expansion with 3 entrances. These wide open spaces here indicated in blue also makes your natural expansion slightly more vulnerable to speedy attacks, just like in Metalopolis. And the back route with the bushes guarding it does make it a nice place for Zerg to do Baneling run-bys or Zergling run-bys into your natural expansion. On this map we also do have these 2 Xel'Naga watchtowers that watch over all grounded attack paths in the center of the map. It is essential to hold on to these Xel'Naga watchtowers if you do decide to go for a defensive position, so that you can know when your opponent is moving out. It's also great to defend against air attacks, because many players won't be careful enough to move their air units to the very sides of the map to commence an attack. We also do have these 3rd bases, or sometimes 4th bases back here. These are guarded by rocks that you must break down in order to get to these expansions. We also have here indicated in blue an area where your opponent can easily drop units. Storms can be used on your SCVs or workers mining at this expansion. A single siege tank or Thor can easily shut down mining at this expansion, so this area is a place that you do want to watch out for drops or unit movement of any kind. This map also does have these gold expansions. These gold expansions are guarded by destructible rocks, so you do want to move out and destroy those rocks quickly if you are planning on taking this expansion, as your army may be tied up doing something else later on during the game. And we also do have another expansion far to the side of the map. These 2 expansions can be used to sneak a 4th base or sneak a 3rd base if you do feel a little bit behind and don't want your opponent scouting where you have another base, and you also can get an advantage without your opponent knowing about it. So you'll see this base getting taken by players who do feel a little bit behind, or by players who are very far ahead and just want to take another base. So these are the maps for the Collegiate Star League Round 8, and this is AEgis, and you can check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/AegisStarcraft. I do have, or Aegis Starcraft 2. There is an Aegis Starcraft, but I don't think he's actually posted any videos for a few months. I'll have a link for that for you below. You can also check out the producer of the music that I've been playing in the background. You can check out his channel at youtube.com/CoolDudeP. That's youtube.com/CoolDudeP. And if you do like what you see, go ahead and subscribe to all of our channels. And this is AEgis signing off.